Hi guys, today we are going to do a AWS production environment setup. So in earlier videos, we have learned about AWS VPC, EC2, then load balancing, autoscaling, and other things. So today we are going to apply all of those things into this particular production project. So first I will explain the setup, then we can go for the hands-on part. So in this setup, obviously we are going to choose one region. So in that particular region, we are going to create a custom VPC first. Then inside this VPC, we are going to use two availability zones. So we are going to use two AZs. So if one AZ goes down, then other AZ should be available for us because it's a production setup. So we are not going to take any chances. So we are going to use two availability zones. Then inside this each availability zones, we are going to create one public subnet and one private subnet. So total two public subnets and two private subnet will be there. Then we are going to launch our instance on private subnets. In earlier videos, I have launched in public subnets only, but this is the production environment. So we are going to launch our instances on private subnets. Then to access these applications, we need a application load balancer. Those application load balancer we are going to launch in public subnet. Then obviously these are launched in private subnets in these instances. So we can't do a SSH into these private instances because they don't have any public IPs and other things. So we are going to use one jump server. That jump server will be in public subnet. So jump server will be in public subnet and it will have a public IP. Then we SSH into that particular jump server. Then from that jump server, we are going to SSH into private instances because we can't directly SSH into the private instances. So I will show that in hands-on now. So this is the setup. Let's create VPC first. So we'll go to AWS console. Then region, I have chosen Mumbai as the region. Then I can search for VPC first. So first we are going to create an VPC. So search for VPC in search bar. We can search for any services in this particular search bar. So click on VPCs. There will be one default VPC, but now I am going to create a custom VPC. So there are two options. One is VPC only and VPC and more. So VPC only means it will create only VPC. Now I am going to choose VPC and more. So it will create subnet, other things, subnet and other things for us. So it will create a subnet. So it will create in two availability zones, AP South 1A and in 1B. So in each subnet, it will create one public subnet and one private subnet. Then it will have route tables, then all IGW and internet gateway other things it will create for us. So check out other my VPC video also. I have explained all subnets, VPC, IGW and other things in that particular video. So now let's create VPC and more and give a project or give a name for that. So I'm going to name it as production. Then CID range, you can choose any CID range. So slash 16 means 2 to the power 32 minus 16 address will be available for us. So 65,536 IPs will be available. So if I change it to 24, it will change it to 256 IPs. That is because 2 to the power 32 minus 24. That means 256 IPs will be available for us. So now I'm going to choose 16 only. So 65,536 available IPs for us in this particular VPC. Then select availability zones. Two availability zones is fine for us. Then public subnet, I need two public subnet and two private subnets. NAT gateway, I don't need. I need a NAT gateway. So uh, one per AZ I can choose. Then VPC endpoints, I don't need any VPC endpoints. Just disable that. That's it. Then click on create VPC. So it will start creating all the resources for us. So it created subnet, route tables, all of these will be created in this particular VPC now. So it will take a couple of seconds to launch this particular VPC. Once that is done, we are going to create EC2 instance in private subnet. So VPC is created now, that is production VPC. And if I go inside this particular VPC, here you can see the resource map and it created a four subnet, two public and private subnet, and it created a route tables, IGW and all the resources. So now we are going to launch our instances. So we are not going to launch our EC2 instances manually, we are going to do with the auto scaling. So search for EC2 in search bar. Then for auto scaling, first what we need to do. So we have to do a create a launch template. So I have explained this in previous video. Check out my auto scaling and load balancing video. So in launch template, we can give a name for that as a production. So I'm going to name every resource as production in this video. So give a name it as production, and this auto scaling guidance and other things not required. Then we can search for AMI, that is Ubuntu. Going to launch in Ubuntu in OS. So Ubuntu 24.04 you can choose. Then instance type I will choose as T2.micro, that is free tier eligible. Then key pair, this is required for SSH login. So I have created SSH in SSH key pair in previous video. That SSH key pair only I'm going to use. And subnet don't include that. And security group I can choose for create new security group. I can create name it as production. And VPC, here I have to choose my VPC that I've created now, that is production VPC. Then I can add inbound rules. So I have to open SSH port. I can choose SSH. I can do SSH with anywhere I will choose for now. Then another security group rule I can choose, that is for my application. For my application, I will host it on 80 port. So HTTP 80 port I can choose. Then source type I can choose anywhere now. So then EBS volumes I can give it as 8 GB only. I can change that, but I can choose it 8 GB only for now. Then click on create launch template. I think something is missing, so description is required here. So I can give it as production only. Then create launch template. So it will take a couple of seconds to launch this particular template. Once the launch template is created, then I can go for EC2 and I can create a auto scaling from this particular launch template. So click on auto scaling group, and auto scaling group, click on create auto scaling group. So here I can give a name for this particular auto scaling as production, and launch template will be the launch template that I created, that is production. Then click on next. Then instance type I have already given it as t2.micro, that will be copied from launch template only. Then network production VPC that I have created, and availability zones. I can choose all these subnets basically. Not all these, only private I can choose. Public is not required. So choose these two subnet, private subnet 1A and private 1 and private 2. Then click on next. Load balancer I'm going to create separately, so ignore that for now. Click on next. Group size desired capacity I can choose as 2. Desired capacity will be 2, and minimum is 1, and maximum it can go for 4. So that is a scaling part, and I'm not going to add any scaling policy now. So more on this, check out my load balancing and auto scaling video. So I'm going to ignore all of these now and click on next. Click on next. And tags I will not add now. So click on next, then click on create auto scaling group. So it will launch 2 instances for now. So auto scaling group is created, and here you can see the instance management. So it is launching 2 instances. These 2 instances are in pending state now. So it will take 1 or 2 minutes to launch these instances. Let's wait for that. So now both these instances are in service, and if I click on one of the instance, it will open that EC2 instance page, and it is in running state now. And now I want to install my application on these 2 instances. But to install application, first I have to log in, right? To log in, SSH login, I need a public IP address, but that is not there because these are private instances. So for that, we have to create one more server. That server we call it as jump server. So jump server is nothing but an intermediate server, and using that intermediate server, we are going to do a SSH into our private instances. So let's create jump server now. Click on instances, launch instance, and name it as jump server, and use Ubuntu. Same thing, 24.04, and instance type t2.micro is fine. And the key pair, same key pair, my key pair, and VPC. Obviously, I have to edit this, not in default VPC. I want to create in production VPC. And subnet, I have to choose public subnet because I need to log into this instances in from my laptop. That's why I'm going to create this in a public subnet. And I need a public IP also because I need public IP to log in. So security group, I can choose. Yeah, create a new security group is fine, and 22 port anywhere, that is fine. And click on launch instance. So it will create instance in 30 seconds it will create. So now my jump server is ready. Let's log into this jump server using SSH. So before SSH into this particular jump server, I want to copy my key pair into this jump server because using that key only I can log into my private instances. So to copy that into my jump server from my laptop, I have the command called as scp command. So scp -i, let's paste that command. So scp -i, that key pair name, and the copy, I want to copy this file, key pair only, to where? To this particular instance. And the path will be home/ubuntu. It will copy into this path in this particular jump server. So once I enter that, so now it copied my file into this particular instance. Now let's SSH into this instance now. So to SSH, I have a command. If I click on jump server and click on connect here, it will give the command. So this command I am going to run to log into my jump server. So let's log into that. So I have logged into this particular jump server now. If I run ls command, I have the key pair now. So using this key pair, I am going to SSH into my private instances now. Let's log in into the first instance. So click on first instance and click on connect. So before running SSH command, just run chmod 400 command to make sure that the key pair we copied has correct permission. Then you can run this SSH command. So now you should be able to log into first instance, then run sudo command to run as a root user, then try to update the packages. Now it's stuck at 0% and it's not able to connect to this because this instance in private subnet and it's not able to reach the internet. So now what to do? We have to configure NAT gateway because using NAT gateway only the instance in public subnet can reach the internet. So let's configure that now. So to configure NAT gateway, first search for VPC, and once you go to VPC, we have something called as NAT gateways here. So NAT gateway is already created while creating the VPC only. I chose VPC and more. So at that time it created NAT gateway also. And this NAT gateway I have to add as a route in my private subnets. So let's go to private subnet first. So if I go to subnets here, the private subnet, any private to subnet is fine. And if I check route table here and click on route table, this is the route table, and the route table has only one route, that is local route. By default it will have only one route, that is local route, and the destination will be the whole VPC, that is 10.0.0.0/16. Now I want to add one more route, to destination will be internet, whole internet, 0.0.0/0, and target will be my NAT gateway. I can go to NAT gateway here and I can select one NAT gateway and save changes. Now there is a path to internet. My private subnet to internet, there is a path. Path means route. So I have added a route to internet using NAT Gateway. Now if I try to run same command apt update, apt update, it is downloading now. It's downloading the package and update is successful now. Now I can install one application here, uh, engines. So apt install engines. Type yes, and it will try to download all the dependencies with the engines application. Engines is installed now. I can check the status of engines, service engines status. So Nginx is installed, but I can't access this Nginx application in browser because I don't have a public IP. So this is the private instance and I can't access private instance IP in my browser. So to access this application, I have to create one component that is called as load balancer. So load balancer we will create in a public subnet. So to create load balancer first, I will go to EC2 service. So for load balancer, I have to create a target group first. Check out my load balancer and the auto scaling video. I have explained that. So in target group, I can create a target group and I can give a name as production and target will be 80 port only because Nginx is running on 80 port only. So IPv4 is fine and VPC I have to choose production VPC and HTTP1 is fine. Lchuck slash is fine and click on next and I have to add the instances. Instances will be these two instances, production instances and include as pending below and create target group. Then I can create a load balancer now. So go to load balancers and create load balancer. Here I'm going to create a ALB. So I have explained three types of load balancer in previous video. Check out that. And now internet facing is fine. And load balancer name I can give it as production IPv4 and VPC production VPC and availability zones. I can choose public subnet and here also public subnet. So I have to create my load balancer in public subnets and security group. I can select production and listeners will be 80 port and target group will be production target group. That is fine. All these are fine and click on create load balancer. Now load balancer will give up the DNS and with that DNS I should be able to access. So this is the DNS. I should be able to access this instances using this DNS name. Still the status is provisioning. So before that, let me modify an index.html in nginx file. So to do that, I have to go to cd var www and cd html and here I can create a index.html. So I have added this is first instance here and I will save the file. Then similarly, I have to install it in second instance also. So I will exit and I will go to my jump server. Now I will log in into second instance also. So I will go to my instances and the second instance. And here also I will install Nginx. So connect and copy my SSH command, login and root and apt update if it is required. Then I can install a Nginx also here. So I have to install Nginx. Yes. Then I can change the directory to var www. So cd var www html and I can create a index.html file. So here I have added the content as this is the second instance, and I will save that. Now I can go to load balancer and check my instances. So go to load balancers and click on production load balancer. And this is the DNS of my load balancer. With this DNS, I should be able to access my instances. So paste that, and here you can see this. I got the response like this is the second instance, and if I refresh this, I'm getting the first instance. So it is balancing the load. So one time it's hitting the first instance, and the second time it's hitting the second instance. Like that, alternatively hitting the different instances at different time. So that's it. Actually, I want to show. So I have created one VPC, and I created public subnets and private subnets. And in private subnets, I installed the EC2 instance, and I installed the Nginx application on private subnets. And to SSH into this instances, I created a jump server in public subnet, and I SSH into that jump server. Then from that jump server, I SSH into my private subnet instances. And the private subnet instances is not able to reach the internet. That's why I have configured the NAT gateway also, and I added a internet route to my route table. So I have showed that also. Then I created a load balancer also. Using load balancer, load balancer will be added in created in public subnet, and using load balancer DNS, I should be able to access my instances in my browser. And also I have created these instances using the autoscaling group. So I have covered all the topics in this particular project. That's it. Subscribe and check out other videos, and keep learning.